The Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback.
Never stop.
What's up, everybody? This is your boy Isaiah Stanback, and this is episode number 5 on the Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback. I appreciate y'all coming and attending, whether you guys are watching or whether you guys are listening in. Your boy's still getting familiar with this, so continue to bear with me. But today we're going to hit on a topic that's very controversial, to say the least. For student athletes, I know which way they're going to go on this, but for a lot of people out there, maybe even the fans, you guys might have a different perspective. And this is the topic of, should NCAA athletes be paid? It's about to get real, but that's what we're here for, keeping it really real. As you guys know, or maybe y'all don't know, I was a 3-sport athlete, really 2. I played baseball for part of a year at the University of Washington, and the demands are crazy. There is, number one, before I even state what side of the field I am on this one, I want to go ahead and say that shout out to all student athletes, regardless of your sports. The demands are absolutely insane. I honestly couldn't tell you where things stand today, as I'm not a current student athlete. It's been a minute since I've been in school, but I can speak and I can attest to my experiences at the University of Washington. And I love the University of Washington. This is no shot at them. However, I'm just going to keep it real, like always, about the conditions and the experiences that we had while we were in school, and some of these guys now have in school. So again, touch on the question: should NCAA athletes should they be paid? I'll put it like this. I'll give you guys a clear understanding of kind of how my schedule went when I was in college. I was, for the most part, a 2-sport athlete. For the time that I was doing baseball, before I had to stop doing that, I would literally wake up. I would go do weights for with my football team from about 5:30 to about 6:30. I would go then from meetings with my position coach from about 7 a.m. until about 8 o'clock, 8:30 a.m. And then I would walk on campus. I would do school from 9 a.m. until about 3 p.m. Then get out of school, walk to the baseball locker room, change clothes, go down, do hitting practice do hitting practice and regular baseball practice until about 7:30, and then put my other cleats on, take my glove off, walk to the indoor facility, and run 7-on-7 as a quarterback of the university. That was my typical schedule. Oh, and then there's this thing called school, which I would get done with practice about 9:30, and I would literally sit up there sometimes to 2 o'clock, sometimes 2:30 in the morning before walking back up to campus, just to get a couple hours of sleep prior to waking up again for early morning workouts. That gives you guys an idea of a 2-sport athlete. The only difference between a 2-sport athlete and a 1-sport athlete is, instead of doing that second sport, practicing and doing drills with them, you're literally fulfilling your time, at least in football, by watching film, by going out and doing your extra work with them, or meeting with a tutor to handle your schoolwork. So to give you that'll just give you guys a little bit of a visual for those that don't have a clear understanding as to the stress and requirements and demands that are on student athletes, at least then, and I believe that this is pretty much the same now. So when we ask the question, should student athletes be paid, I need everybody to have open ears and an open mind in regards to the fact that it's hard. It's hard. Most people are working 9 to 5s. Right? Your hours might change here and there. Either way, it's usually an 8-hour work shift. And guess what? You're getting paid. Right? So you're working an 8-hour work shift and you're getting paid. You're going home, you're doing what you want to do, you pay your bills, and you still have money left over. Otherwise, you wouldn't just be doing it for majority of the nation. Student athletes, you are either on campus, staying in a dorm, and they're going to take care, if you're on scholarship, right? We're talking about if you're on scholarship. If you get a scholarship, you get your school paid for every year. Awesome. Dope. Depending on the university, period, it's a great opportunity to have your education paid for. No complaints there. I'm not going to argue with you. But where the issue comes in is the demands that you have, the fact that you are getting, if they're taking care of your dorm, right? You're staying in a dorm, you have a roommate, you're given a eating stipend, or they're giving you a card to eat on campus. And it's not the life. It's definitely not the life. I remember when I was at the University of Washington, my home was about 10 minutes away from the school. So I literally would go home often, or my mom would bring me whole Costco packs. My roommate was Nate Robinson. His mom would switch off, bring a whole bunch of Costco stuff and snacks and beanie weenies, and our room would be stocked with all the snacks. We had all the Scooby snacks, and that's really the only way that we got through. Because we're talking about growing, at least for me, it was growing boys, right? And then you got your females out there as well. But we're athletes. We demand calories. We're burning excessive amount of calories multiple times a day. I know for myself, I was probably burning, 5,000 calories a day. I needed to consume at least that to remain status quo. So the little meal cards that we got for on-campus food wasn't going to get it done. And then we weren't allowed to work. So how are we supposed to support ourselves? Right. This was the question that was posed back then, and it was difficult. It was very difficult. So you're caught in a weird space where you're getting your schooling taken care of. You're getting a meal card, but you can't work, sign autographs, do appearances, do camps, do anything that's going to put extra money in your pocket, because that's exploiting the university and it's illegal. So how am I supposed to live? It's a fair question, because a lot of people, you guys just work more hours. You guys just put in overtime. You guys are a separate entity than your job, right? It's like, hey, when I clock out, and I can go do whatever the heck I want to. That's not the case when you're a student athlete. And when people are being subjective about this topic, nobody's really taking that into consideration. And I feel like student athletes are being perceived as less than humans, because you guys are saying, oh, well, it's different for them. But why should it be different than them? Why should it be that way? That should not be the case. You're a human being. We're human beings as well. We should have the same opportunities that you have to go out and generate extra revenue for ourselves, right? And so when we hear, oh, well, you're getting free education. That's kind of a red hot word, little hot word right there. Free education. Is it? Is it really a free education? So you take a university that's, say, in-state, call it $25,000 a year. So we're looking at $100,000 worth of funds being given to us over the span. I put it in quotations for those that are listening, given to us, in addition to obviously our housing for that time that we're on campus, blase. But let's think about how much money the schools are bringing in. And I have a great relationship with athletic directors, and they'll probably feel differently than this on this topic, and that's perfectly fine. We're all entitled to our opinion, but let's understand this. The NCAA is big business. The NCAA, to my understanding, unless things have changed here recently, which I don't believe they have, is a nonprofit. I'm going to go ahead and run that back. The NCAA is a nonprofit. That's kind of crazy, because when we think about it, majority of the major universities are generating profit. So how is it that these universities are paying no taxes in regards to their athletic revenue, but they're deemed as a nonprofit? They're paying no taxes, but yet they're turning a profit every year. It's kind of a weird thing. And then none of those costs, the people that are actually generating the revenue, they don't have to pay them. They don't have to pay them. So it's a little bit odd, and you guys and people could say, hey, well, the education, that's their pay. If that's the case, then a lot of people need raises, because there's a lot of guys that are outplaying their contracts. Let's put it that way. Because you guys are saying that all athletes, in terms of, say, football, all athletes are getting the same amount of scholarship funded to them. There's a lot of guys that are outplaying their contracts. And not only are they outplaying their contracts, which means that they're being underpaid, in a sense, they're not being allowed to go work. So for instance, myself, I wasn't allowed to go work. I had 2 jobs in college, and I only had that for about 3 hours a day. So that's the time I had between summer school and workouts. I can go run, try to make a couple of dollars real quick and come back. And that was really frowned upon, because if you could have time to go work, you had time to get better, right? That's what they wanted. They wanted all your attention on getting them better, and obviously making the university better, having a better record, which in terms, big umbrella-wise, circle-wise, it puts money back in university's pockets. So when we start looking at some of these revenues, as this paper here, it says in 2015, 2016 year, Texas A&M their athletic department brought in $194 million. Ohio State brought in $170.8 million. Ooh. I can go down the list. There's a lot of money being hired, all the way down to LSU, 141, Tennessee, 140, Auburn, 140. These are 110% increases over a 10-year span. The coaches are getting paid anywhere from $5 million on this list up to, of course, a coach over at Alabama getting $11.1 million per year. But the athletes shouldn't be paid. And they can find the money for the coaches. They can find the money for the university. They can find the money to fund the buildings on campus. They can find the money to support some of the other athletic programs, but they can't find the money to make sure that the athletes that are generating the revenue are fully satisfied and not having to go outside legally to find extra revenue. We've seen the stories of people signing autographs and getting in trouble, getting suspended. We've seen the guys going and working for the car dealerships, right? That's really owned by a booster and getting suspended. We heard all these stories, and the question is, how are guys supposed to live? Let me give you guys a clear understanding. When I was in college, my scholarship, once I moved off campus, my scholarship check, and obviously this was a long time ago, okay? This is 02 to 06. My scholarship check was $768. $768. That was my scholarship check. For somebody who had a negative income, had a negative mark in front of their bank account all the time, that was a lot of bread. However, my apartment, the rent was $755. That's $13 to pay for my utilities, to pay for gas, to pay for food, to pay for anything living-wise. I had $13. Now, y'all could say, oh, well, you could have got a different space. You didn't have to get something that would cost that much. You're right. I could have went to the place across the street that was probably had mold issues and could have stayed for $500, or I could have got a roommate, right, and just said, hey, I have to have somebody to have to live in order to have a couple of dollars in my pocket. I could have done all that. You're absolutely correct. But should I have to make that decision when I'm helping the university generate millions and millions of dollars? It's a tough conversation. I get it. I get it from the school's perspective. You guys have a lot of expenditures. You guys have a lot of overhead. You guys have a lot of commitments. You guys have to worry about making sure that all the sports are getting taken care of equally. Even though the athletes know that there's a handful of sports, usually basketball and football, are bringing in the most money for the schools. I get it. You guys have hard decisions to make. However, being that you guys have hard decisions to make, there's always ways that you guys can find to ensure that your number one priority, your athletes, supposedly, are well taken care of. And it's a tough conversation. It's a tough conversation that needs to continue to be had within the NCAA, within these universities. When we start talking about this big money, obviously I named some of the revenues from a couple of years back. We start talking about some of these contracts. Let's talk about March Madness, right? March Madness just ended here not too long ago. March Madness, CBS and Turner are paying over the 14-year span, right, broadcasting rights to the NCAA men's basketball tournament, right, $10.8 billion. I'm going to run that back. Over a 14-year span, CBS is paying the NCAA just for the basketball tournament, just basketball. We're not talking about college football. We're talking about just basketball, $10.8 billion. That's a B, y'all. Oh, and by the way, they went ahead and extended it here a year ago for $8.8 billion for another additional 8 years. So we're talking about 20 years, 22 years, $20 billion. That's being distributed between schools. Probably, I don't know how they distribute that money out to the schools based upon the basketball tournament, but that's $20 billion right there just for basketball, right? Since then, college football has came in. Now they have playoffs, and now they have a whole lot of money that's coming in for that, right? They found a way. Everybody wanted college football playoffs. Everybody, the fans wanted it, right? Some of the athletes wanted it because they want a fair shot. The selection process for the bowl games was all a little bit muddy. But guess what? At the end of the day, you got it. You got your tournament. But guess who's getting that bread, right? The universities. They love it. They love it because they get additional games. They get additional games. They get additional TV money. You know, you think about, you know, universities like the University of Texas, they have their own network. Do you know how much money? There's billions and billions of dollars that are being negotiated for these athletes to go out and play, and they see none of it. You know, and as a quarterback in university, I remember, even though we weren't doing very well at the time, I would still look up in the crowd, and, you know, if it wasn't for my mother and my father, you know, giving me extra money every month, your boy was broke. Quarterback of the University of Washington, and I was broke. Had a negative in my account. Bank of America usually overdraft me all the time, right? But my parents took care of me. But I was the guy on the field. I was that dude. You got 78,000 people in the stadium looking at me and my leadership, and I'm broke. But yet I look up in the crowd and I see number 4 jersey up right there. I see a number 4 jersey right there. All throughout the crowd, people wearing my jersey. It didn't have my name on it, but miraculously, number 4 just ended up in the team shop, and they were selling those things for $60+. And how much was your boy getting of it? None of it. So there's a problem there. There's a problem there. We start talking about guys like Zion from over there at Duke. How much money do y'all think that he is generating for that university? Let's keep it real. The boy could ball, right? He's not the only one. There's a bunch of other players in the league that ball as well, but he's gotten the most attention over this past year. He has. Obviously I don't have the numbers to put on it, but it's a lot of money that he's making at university right now, and he's one and done. Why is he one and done? Why isn't he just going straight to the league like guys like LeBron? Well, there's this thing that they kind of put in. They put a clause in the NCAA that said that you can't go from high school directly to pros. It's kind of weird. Why do you think they did that? You think they did that for their development? Because guys needed to be more developed in order to go play pro ball? Nah. The college NCAA was missing out on so much money from these athletes leaving high school and going straight to the league. Like LeBron, how much money do you think colleges lost? Some college and the NCAA and as a unit lost millions of dollars from LeBron not going to college. So they say, you know what? We're not doing that no more. Him and Kobe, yeah, they messed it up for everybody, right? So now, guess what? We're going to make those guys go to college. So we're going to get at least 1 year of money out of them. It's crazy. They don't need half these guys don't even want to finish college. I hate to say it that way. At least not in these first couple of years. They'll go back and finish, right? But it's not their priority right now. Their priority is getting to the league healthy. But yet they're having to go play unprotected, take out insurance policies to protect themselves for a year. Why? So that they can put money in the school's pockets. How are they benefiting? Maybe a couple picks higher? Maybe. With a risk of injury? How many people held their breath? How many people held their breath when he blew out his shoe? Right? Everybody gasped. That wouldn't matter if he was playing for a pro team. So there's a lot of things that go into this, y'all, and it's tricky. It's really tricky. But things I want you guys to think about is, are these players being exploited? Let's think about jerseys. Let's think about ticket sales. There's a reason why there's no more NCAA football and they had to hand out checks because they got sued. There's a class action suit because the likeness of us, we were in video games and we weren't getting no bread. We weren't getting none of that. But EA Sports was making money. The universities were making money, but we weren't. The free education, I can't stand it when people say that. The restrictions, living conditions. These are all things that we need to be thinking about when we talk about these athletes, and then before we go out and punish them for just trying to make an honest dollar. Everybody else has the opportunity to make money. We need to have that opportunity as well as athletes. So something to think about. Tough conversation, tough topic. Having a discussion with you and your people, whether male or female, it doesn't really matter. All sports are being affected by this. Obviously, there's a whole lot of methods and ways in which they would have to distribute this. Is it distributed evenly among sports? Do we have to get rid of some sports that aren't generating money? Because there's sports like basketball and football that are really funding the entire athletic department. Some of the sports that aren't really generating any money, they're actually losing money. So some sports might have to be done away with. There's a lot, and I get that. But there's enough money moving hands that I think that the people that are making decisions at the top, being that they don't have to pay taxes and all, I think they can figure that out. And I know I'll probably get beat up by at least my resources at the UW for this, but I'm always game to have a good conversation, y'all. So, hey, spark this conversation, talk about it. Let me know what you guys think. This your boy again, Isaiah Stanback with The Really Real Show. I'll see y'all next episode. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure that you guys send in your questions, topics that you guys want me to cover, and we'll make sure that we address those things and that we can answer all those questions and maybe even, bring up your topic that you guys send in going forward. Talk to y'all soon.
The Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback.